Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to be doing a science lesson. And before we start, I would like you to take a look at these pictures. So I'm going to hold up an example of some things, and I want you to tell me if there's anything that these have in common. Are you ready?
Two pieces of wood.
Pieces of wood or two logs. And this?
Ice.
Yeah, or ice lollies. Do you know what this is?
Paint.
Paint. Yeah,
Paint.
paint being poured
Doesn't
out
look like paint.
for your walls. What's that?
Balloons.
Balloons. This one is a bit tricky to see.
Dish soap.
Soap. So someone's washing their dishes. And this is what would be inside of this football if it's filled up.
Air.
Do you have an idea of what these have in common, all of those pictures I just showed you?
They're all a type of matter.
They're all a type of matter. So what do you think your desk is made of?
So,
Matter.
Could be made of metal, could be made of wood. What about your water bottle?
Metal.
So today's science lesson, you were right, Zoe, is about everything, something that everything is made up of, and that is matter. And before we talk about matter, let's learn exactly what it is. I'm going to share my screen, what this is. Can you read that together? So matter is anything that has weight and takes up space. Everything that you can see and touch is made up of matter. Matter exists in three main forms: solids, liquids, and gas. So what do you think we should start to look at first? Do you see those pictures on the screen?
Yep.
What are those of? Zoe, what are those three things?
a rock, ices, and a chair.
Exactly. So it's a rock, ice, and a chair. If we were thinking about those three forms, we have a choice of a solid, which means it feels hard, it keeps its shape, it has fixed volume, and the particles are packaged tightly together. Do you think these are three examples of a solid?
Not the ice.
Me?
Well, I think maybe the ice when it's actually ice.
Maybe
The ice is between them.
That's right.
There's
So
water underneath the ice.
good observation. That ice there is only solid if we're talking about the blocks of ice. So that matches that definition. And if we look at the next group of pictures, that's a liquid. So we have orange juice, milk, and maybe like a river or stream. What makes these examples of liquid is that it feels wet, it takes the shape of its container, it has fixed volume, and the particles are slightly spaced out. So if we go back to our picture of the solid, there's a little bit of liquid underneath there. Any kind of juice and just water in your water bottle, right? That's right, you have an example. And the next set of pictures, can you see those three? We're not looking at the clouds necessarily, but what's around that. And that's an example of gas, so our third state. They're mostly invisible. It spreads out to fill out the whole space, and it has no definite volume, and the particles are loose and free to move around.
Wait, but Miss Berry,
Yes.
like if you have to have very hot water, you can still see the steam.
That's right. So that's something that we can look at, how it's already a liquid, but if something happens to it, if you add heat to it, the liquid is now going to change into a gas. Because these three states, if we have solid, liquid, and gas, something doesn't always have to stay a solid. It can switch over to a liquid, or it can switch over back to a solid. So if you've ever seen something cold with ice, and then it gets warm out, and then all of the ice sort of melts away and it becomes liquid again, but then the next night it gets really cold, the ice comes back. So that's with things like matter, it always can change. So we are going to look at a few examples, and you're going to let me know if I hold up the picture, do you think it's a solid? Do you think it sort of holds its shape, the particles are really close together? Do you think it's an example of a liquid? So it holds kind of in the container, it feels wet. Or is it an example of a gas? So the particles are very spread out. Most likely you can't see it, and we'll play the game. Are you ready? So the first example is this. So let me know if you don't know what it is. Is it a solid, a liquid, or a gas? Now, Zoe, you have probably a good answer for this one, but what is this part? So we're thinking, is it a solid, a liquid, or a gas?
Gas.
So the water is in there, it's getting warmed up, and that's a liquid, but here, this is the steam or the gas.
Solid.
It's solid, so it's a solid bar of chocolate. Great work. I have a question that I can maybe write down. Is there something that is not matter?
Light.
So that's something we can have up for next time and check on if everything is a solid, liquid, or gas, or maybe there's something that's a little bit different. Thanks for coming.